Welcome to Finding Certainty with your host and U.S. Army veteran, Patrick Laing. Over the next hour, you'll learn from Patrick and his expert guests how to attract more certainty into your business and your life. Now, here is your host, Patrick Laing.
Welcome to Finding Certainty. Appreciate you being with us this morning. Very excited about today's guest. I refer to him as a Renaissance man of business and finance because it's really what he is. And as you hear Tony's story this morning, I think you'll be impressed. I think you'll agree. So we're meeting with Anthony Salazar, Tony T-Money Salazar, as he's known.
Yeah.
He is a serial entrepreneur, a founder and CEO of Mayville Academy, environmental responsible company, which ERC Nevada, as it's known, and really a foremost expert in cryptocurrency and blockchain. So we're going to be getting into some of that today. If you have any interest in crypto, how to prepare for it, profit from it, protect yourself, the list goes on. You'll be very interested in today's conversation. We're sitting here with one of the experts.
Thank you, Patrick, for having me here. I really enjoy your show. So it's just exciting to, give out some information, a little bit about myself. My journey started as when I was in college. I was a banker. I was a teller, just like anybody else, started from the ground level. And then I really started getting into the operations parts of the banks, mainly ATMs, fulfilling the ATMs, fixing them, programming them, placing them. That's what in my 20s. And, I was doing credit card processing, that kind of thing. And once you understood how the network of banking and finance really works, I started to ask a lot of questions, how our money is, it works. Like, you kind of see the Wizard of Oz and you kind of see the levers behind the curtain. And you're like, wow, this is, it's kind of volatile. It's really not, certain. And however, the system, you have these big institutions that tout that they're, pretty solid and, they're trustworthy, and they market themselves that way. But behind the scenes, they're pretty, they're pretty volatile. And I think you can kind of see that today with SVB and some of the these regional banks going under, or going into receivership through the FDIC. So there's that. So. Yeah.
It's interesting because you think of it as, FDIC insured, and that means that my money is safe and so forth. But it is precarious, especially as things change globally, as there are everything from terrorist threats to global pandemics to the changes with blockchain and so forth and so on. And in many sense, blockchain is making it more secure, which we're going to get into.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that. I'm starting to. I still consider myself a blockchain novice, but I think I know more than a lot of people because I've been dabbling in it for the last few years. But really looking forward to hearing that and getting into that topic with you. So,
thank you. And what I do and my mission and passion was education, and really telling people and educating them on how money works, true. So you can pretty much, so you can be certain, no pun intended, but about your future, your legacy that you can leave behind. I was in insurance as well, life insurance and that kind of thing. So estate planning. So as a business owner, really the reason why most people get in a business is because they want to leave something. They want to make something out of themselves, right? They want to leave something behind that's a legacy, maybe 100%. A name brand, right? Think about the big corporations that you have today. They started with an idea back, maybe 100 years ago or 50 years ago or even 10 years ago. And now they're name brands that everybody knows and use. And it was started with an idea. And that idea, could be, and it takes a lot of hard work and maybe, a lot of entrepreneurs like myself and business owners that I've coached throughout the time. And Mayville Academy is an entrepreneur academy. One of the things that education, in our, in like elementary school and high school, even college and universities, they don't teach entrepreneurship at all. So I had to kind of like the hard knocks, school of hard knocks, to learn what to do and not to do. And, doing business here in the United States is not, it's not the same as doing business in Canada or Mexico or another country. You kind of, everybody has their own laws, even other states. So you kind of have to get guidance all the time. And that's what Maybill stands for. It's 5 pillars. It's actually an acronym, MABIL, and it's all about your mentorship, getting a mentor in the field that you want to build. A stands for accounting, B stands for banking, I stands for insurance, and L stands for legal. So those are the 5 pillars to build a successful business, because you want to be risk managing, with insurance and knowing where your money is going and being certain when you make a decision on your business, you have a picture of what your financials are at all time. And now that with the advent of computing, that now it's just a click of a button with QuickBooks or Peachtree or any of those softwares that you can use. And it's getting easier and easier for people to really get organized, right? And I encourage that. I encourage that everybody understands their financial, I call it the financial career. And, I know I'm going to talk about Robert Kiyosaki, his EB, his quadrant, it's called. And I kind of take that, and I take it to a next level, because everybody, just like in life, you have 4 stages in your life, right? You have your childhood, you have your teenage years where you kind of rebel, then you're an adult and you're mature and you start making your own family. And then you get into the empty nester golden years, right? Where you retire right? So those are the 4 stages of life. That's natural. It's a natural progression of the universe of your life. Mm-hmm. And so if people plan that way, and they say even financially, like when your children are born, you can start planning then, like right in their formidable years, so that they can, educate them on how to use money. What is the benefit of money? What is the difference between currency and money, which is most people don't understand that. What's the difference between money and capital? There is an actual difference. And most people actually use those terminologies as money, which is not the truth. There's definitely a difference in that. So, having solutions for them to pretty much put them in that's what I think every parent wants, right? Is to have, to leave something behind. Mm-hmm. And not only that, to grow their legacy after they're done, right, in this world, and have that satisfaction that they built something in your lifetime. We only have, if God willing gives you 100 to maybe 120 years, maybe in that range, God willing. And so if you plan that way, you have a plan to succeed and not a plan to fail. So if you teach your young ones, your children from an early age, how to have entrepreneurship, same thing. I remember, like myself, even my journey, I started as an employee, right? So same thing, your employees are your children. They are. You got to tell them when to check in, when to check out, when to go to the bathroom. You got to put a list of rules in place so that there's no shenanigans going on. And then you have your vendors, your 1099ers, right? per se, and they're like your teenagers, right? You can't really tell them what to do because they're not part of the organization, but they're part of your organization independently. And so you have to even put rules, just like in a household, you put rules in place to have a better, a better organization. So then you being an adult or a business owner, because an entrepreneur and being a business owner is very different mindset. So, and having that system in place to pretty much have a successful business. And all of your Fortune 500 companies, they have their, corporate, they have those, just like a family, you have rules of your household, right? And there's people that, don't adhere to the rules, and sometimes you got to fire them. And you have to come to terms with that and how to discipline and your employees, just like you have disciplined your children. And of course, the last stage, or if you have that parallel that I'm talking about, is you become an investor. And that's kind of like your retirement or your golden age. And you become actually intradependent with your family.
Right.
So if you notice how in your older years, in your golden years, the grandpa is always interdependent. They're outside of the scope of your, they really don't have any liability anymore in your household, but definitely they depend on you to be there and having that connection. So
Right, but they also have years of experience, and you look at them as a mentor and as a sounding board and so forth and so on. So let me interject real quick, because
sure.
I always start the show out by explaining two reasons why I've invited you as a guest. And the first, in Tony's case, is as you hear him talk, he has a wealth of knowledge and experience, a lot of it financial related. And I wanted to have him on our show. One, he's the first guest I've had that specializes in crypto or is an expert in crypto. That's a topic we've wanted to discuss. But I refer to him as a Renaissance man because he's had so much different experience in so many different ways, so many different arenas, and some really interesting stories and experiences that he draws from that experience. And his insights into business and into life are really fascinating. And secondly, he's constantly forward-looking. What's the next trend coming? Where's the next need? Where's the next risk? He's constantly risk assessing and exploring opportunity. And that's what Mabel Academy does to a large extent. It helps businesses and entrepreneurs do exactly that. Look at their business, look at the trends, look at where they're weak, look at where they could be stronger, and establish more certainty in their businesses. And so tell us a little bit about before we get into more of the philosophy and the insights, tell us a little bit more about your past. So, tell us some of the things, where you're from and some of the things you've done.
Sure. I live here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I grew up here in Las Vegas, long time vegan. Las Vegas is a very eclectic place to live. It's very international. So I met a lot of people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different languages. So I think that what gave me the diversity of that perspective, I guess, and really understanding people and how they work. And one of the things so through banking as a teller, I saw a lot of people, making their deposits and so and so. And so I really interact with that. Then I did sales as well. As a banker, you got to do sales and, opening accounts and whatnot. And so people get really personal on their financials, right? And so a good banker will be becomes your financial priest per se. Right. So when I was doing loans and mortgages and whatnot, auto loans, you ask a lot of questions about their background and who they are. And so I just became very curious about how people made money and how their success, maybe learn about their success as well. And so, like I said, I'm a very curious person, and I really want to know what makes people tick or even how things work. And so I guess, I was a tinker too, because I was a little bit technically savvy. I went to school, when I went to school at university, it was for information systems because I really loved computers and, the whole, like you said, forward thinking of what's life going to be like, right? So I remember like being a young man in my 90s, in the 1990s, and seeing the internet born. And I thought it was this big explosion. I saw the difference because when I was in high school, I had to go to the library and crack open a book,
Right.
right?
I remember.
Right. And so,
I distinctly remember them talking about this thing called email. And
yeah,
email, what's that? I have a clear memory of the day that I first heard about email. It's funny.
yeah. My first email was actually when I got to university, and the university assigned me an email. Right? They were going to communicate with me there. It's like, that was easy. That was wonderful. And as I, got more technical and, started understanding, and I mean, went to a good school, and that school really taught me the foundation of things, how to think critically. So coming out of the, college, I was working in the bank and going to college at the same time. And then coming out, then I did some sales training. That was actually the best college I ever had, was sales training. And then, I came back. I went to university in California because they didn't have my major here in Vegas. But then I came back here to Vegas to be with the family again. And then, so, I just transferred here back to Vegas, with the same company. And, then I went to credit unions, that whole thing, and insurance. And from insurance, kind of led me down this rabbit hole. And then I got this entrepreneur bug. And I started with me and my brother, we started a recycling company. It was called Liberty Salvage Materials, and had that for 10 years, 12 years, if I remember. And we sold the company actually, and for a profit, and it was very cool. And we didn't start like as a recycling company. It was actually called C&D Construction Services, and we were picking up the debris from, we just got a dump truck, started picking up the debris from the construction sites and had that kind of contract. And then we started seeing a lot of the construction debris that we were picking up was really good stuff, I mean, it was brand new stuff. It was lumber, metals, plastics, cardboard, that was just brand new. And we're like, well, instead of putting in a big hole, a trash, right? What can we do? So we started getting really into other fields. And it was just a journey, so that's why we started ERC of Nevada, which is more helping companies, Fortune 500 companies, go green, especially in 2008. And it was devastating, 2008. And so we had to really pivot and really be, I guess, entrepreneur.
Reinvent
right?
yourself.
Yeah, and reinvent ourselves. So,
well, we're coming up on a break here, and we're visiting with Tony Salazar. He's the founder and CEO of Mayville Academy, and I'm interested in hearing more of your transition into the ERC of Nevada, environmental responsible. Is it company or corporation?
Company. Yeah, company.
Yeah, and so. Because that led you to some really interesting experiences with the city and the county and so forth and so on. So let's go to break. We're going to come back in just a minute and hear more of Tony's story. He's built and sold multiple companies, seen millions of dollars flow through his hands, and helped some really extraordinary projects come to fruition. And now he's taking all of his experience and giving back and helping others learn and grow and benefit in the same way. So hang tight. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening to Finding Certainty.
Follow
Follow Voice America at facebook.com/Voice America for juicy updates from your favorite radio shows and podcasts.
Certainty Management can help create more certainty in your life with our deep discount health insurance options, even for 1099s, part-time employees, volunteers, and more. Pay less to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your team. Call 888-684-3122 for a free quote today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at CertaintyTeam.com. That's Certainty, Team, like Mary.com.
Have you become a member yet? Sign up now to become a member of Voice America. It's always free and easy. Plus, you get to take advantage of some great member benefits. Get unlimited access to millions of hours of on-demand content across all of our channels. Keep track of your favorite episodes, shows, and hosts in your own customizable library. Find out what shows you might be interested in based on your favorites. Plus, you get insider access with our newsletter. Membership gives you more. Sign up at voiceamerica.com and click register at the top right.
If you're a nonprofit in need of funding, we can help. Certainty Management is a cost reduction firm that also helps churches, schools, sports teams, and other nonprofits raise unlimited zero-cost funding. Best of all, you don't have to sell anything or ask for donations. Call 888-684-3122 to learn more today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at CertaintyTeam.com. That's Certainty, Team, like Mary.com.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
You are listening to Finding Certainty with Patrick Laing. Have a question for Patrick or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show with Patrick.
Well, you're listening to Finding Certainty. My special guest this morning is Tony Salazar. He's a very successful entrepreneur here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Done a lot of different things throughout his career. We were just getting into how you went from working in the banking industry and learning all about money, and then you decided you wanted to be an entrepreneur and started a recycling company. You started just picking up trash from construction sites, realized there was a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah.
And started recycling, and this evolved into you getting into the ERC of Nevada, which is really, it's a consulting firm, right? It was a consulting company focused on helping companies go green. I mean,
right. So let me go back. So my first company that I made, it was called CND Construction Services, and it was to pick up debris from construction sites, mainly residential. So I had contracts with the big national builders like Party Homes, Woodside Homes, Lennar Homes. And so, Vegas was booming with construction, and, I saw the need, and, we started with one truck, and we grew that company in 6 years, from 2000 to 2006, actually 7 years. We grew the company pretty substantially big. We had, at the end, 150 bins. We had 3 roll-off trucks. We had, 7 dump trucks. We had about 53 employees. So it grew pretty big, and we saw, because the things that we were picking up, the debris, there was, like I said, was pretty brand new. So we were like, well, we can recycle some of this, a lot of this stuff. Before recycling was trendy, I saw this kind of trend going where everybody wants to go green. And I was like, well, we can start doing that. And so one of the first things that we did was we actually extracted, because 40% of our trash, instead of putting it in landfill, and actually, our biggest expense, one of our biggest expense and C&D Construction Services was our trash bill. So I was like, well, how can I cut costs and make a whole other business doing that? So we would take the lumber, because 40% of our trash was lumber. And so we started making products out of that lumber, and it was called Starwood Lumber Products. And that was another business. And then that led us to, well, a lot of people were like, wow, you're really innovative and, had a good idea, and we're making money in these two companies. And of course, we really pushed the new envelope and did Liberty Salvage Materials, which was a recycling company. And so now we had three companies, and if you thought I was busy back then, I was even more busier. So we kind of grew that way. And so in 2008 happened, it was very devastating. And my banking buddies kind of started telling me, hey, I remember going to seeing my mentors, and that's how mentors are so important in my life and should be for you too. And one of them said, I remember wanting to, get in the game because the housing market was really hot. I mean, you could buy a house or, and then you have like 40% equity in it in a couple of months. And so everybody was getting on the bandwagon. And I remember I had a house. It was my personal home that I wanted to take out money out of it to buy another house and do rental properties. And he's like, no, don't do that. And I was like, what? It's like, wait a minute. No, but it's hot. Things are going. And he's like, no, actually sell your house. So I actually sold my house and I went into an apartment. My brother, some of my people that they're like, you're crazy. You're crazy. This was in 2006, by the way. And so I listened to my mentor, and like a year later, of course, everything about a year or two years later, of course, everybody knows the crash and the housing market debacle. And so we had to close C&D construction because it was all construction. Starwood lumber, we had to, close that down and, fire people. And it was just a part of life. You have these ebbs and flows in your life, and you got to just be very creative. And so we kind of reinvented ourselves. So we had the Liberty Salvage, and we already had a lot of equipment from C&D, and we just kind of consolidated everything and really started teaching people, especially in 2008, most people, I don't know if you remember the TARP money. It was a grant from 1/3 of TARP money went to the Department of Energy. And there was this big push of going green in the Obama era. And so I really capitalized on that. And I already kind of saw it already. And we were just in the right place in the right time. I mean, we already had a recycling company. We already had a lot of equipment. So that spurred us into the next, I guess, segue into our, we just pivoted and rebranded as Liberty Salvage more.
So there's a principle here for business that, and I don't think there's there's probably exceptions, but there's very few entrepreneurs who have not failed as they're getting their feet under themselves and as they're progressing and developing their own success story, their legacy, right? Most of them have gone bankrupt at one point. Most of them have lost or been taken advantage of or had the economy crush their business or something. And many of them, many times. I've been through multiple failures and successes in my story in building our company, Certainty Management, and our other company, Certainty Global. And so it's a principle. One, it's almost an eternal principle. It's going to happen, right? We can't control everything as much as we try. But two, one of the skills and talents for a successful entrepreneur is that ability to pivot and the ability to constantly be reinventing yourself. We do it all the time. We're constantly improving, trying to get better, learning from our mistakes, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to get into our crypto discussion, but give us 60 seconds of what you did with ERC, because I think it's really important. You were involved in some pretty big projects with the
So when ERC, like I was saying, there was TARP money, and so I got we had a Department of Energy hired us to because they had this big $300 billion to disseminate, and it was all free money to municipalities only. So like your counties and cities. And so what I saw a great opportunity is to be a consultant, being a consulting in where's it, I would call. So I started just calling. That was my sales training again. I was calling all these managers, the city manager or county managers. And I say, hey, just what are you going to do with your energy efficiency block grants? Do you guys know about that? And most of them, they didn't even know that they were going to get free money from the federal government. And of course, they had to apply just like anybody else. And, they don't have a grant writer. So, or if they did, they didn't know all the ins and outs, but we did. And so we kind of helped, our cities and municipalities get those free monies and then create more jobs. And then they started doing, and that was in 2008, 9, and 10. Here in Vegas, it's like the solar capital of the world. So there was these big, huge company that was called Abangoa, French company actually, with technology using Spanish technology. And if you go outside off of the 15 freeway here going towards LA, it's on the California side, and it's called these concentrated solar arrays. And, a lot of companies started popping up with different technologies of solar and how to do solar different. And so, I was involved in a lot of the financing part of it because of my banking background and, getting all these institutions together, in partnerships with the city and, of course, in partnerships with the private companies. So to get these off the ground.
Yeah, isn't it interesting how our careers evolve? They kind of manifest themselves, and it's never just one path. We pick a path and that's all we do. Very rarely are we on one path without these offshoots and these different experiences. Yours really evolved from your financial experience and your desire to educate others, and then you were involved in construction, and then you started to learn all about green energy even before people were thinking about it. And
right. So like my experience from the bank,
Jenga, somebody's building the blocks of a Jenga tower, and that was your career. Is that a safe comment?
Yeah, it was just, and I don't want to say sometimes you just kind of fall into it, but that's kind of rare as well. A lot of times because of your background and my preparation from being in the banking side, then being an entrepreneur and knowing how to run a business and dealing with people. And then on top of that, with all my recycling experience, in construction as well, it kind of like all those languages, I knew how to talk to each one of that group set. And it was like I became the hub to put the deal together, right? Because if they would have done it themselves, they wouldn't even know. They wouldn't even know where to start, right?
Right. And I know we were talking about how it went on till you had clients like MGM and
so like a lot of the casinos,
World Market, and several of the casinos, and I said, we were just talking yesterday. You said, I can pick up the phone and call so and so, who is completely inaccessible. You've got him on speed dial, right?
Yeah, because you're, when you give, right, and without on those are big projects, and I made money for my time, but being an expert, so when people, like when I talk to the city of Vegas now, right, they like, oh, hey, what else deal you got for me, right? What other monies do you have for me?
Right.
So it's a little different. They treat me a little different, right? Because they understand my heart, and that I'm there to really help and be an expert. If I don't, and
right.
so when
you've proven yourself, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't lip service. You walk and didn't just talk the talk.
Yeah. So it's not like I was trying to sell them. I was just wanting to really help and say, look, did you look into this? And if they didn't hire me, I was like, okay with it. I was like, okay, at least I drew their attention to this issue, right? And how they can get money, right? So nowadays, that's how I get clients, because I say, okay, I like to hear them and say, okay, if you have a problem, maybe I can solve it. Maybe I can't. Maybe someone in my network can solve it. And so that gives you, like your network starts to grow that way. And I guess also having experience in different realms helps also. So yeah, like I had a lot of these clients that like MGM, Las Vegas Convention Center, we did their recycling program for them, for the Department of Energy. So it's very eclectic, right? So you got government, private companies too. So
Well, those are not small contracts. Those are pretty massive clients. And you said a comment earlier, Tony, about how you're a curious person and you're always learning. You're always trying to understand things. I think you read more than maybe a lot of people do. You probably read manuals and read policies and and that's what's made you such a great educator through Mabel Academy. You're helping teach people because you've taken the time to learn. And now not only are you educated, but you talk about having a big heart. I know you. I know from experience that you want to pay it forward.
Right.
But you do for free. You're constantly giving back to the community and so forth and so on. And I think that when you're talking about legacy, that is the mark of a truly successful entrepreneur, because they're giving back. We've got a couple more minutes till our first break.
Leadership.
Where did it go from here, and how did it go from there into Mabel Academy?
Sure. So after selling our business, and it was in 2018, sold our business, and I was just really, okay, what's next, right? And one of the things that I picked up was, I went back into banking, so I became a loan officer again, just like, so I went back to my roots, what I knew, right? And and because of that, it was a CDFI, it was a nonprofit bank that gave microloans for entrepreneurs. And part of that, I did that for 2 years, and I loved it because, I really went back to really giving back my knowledge to entrepreneurs and really seeing that glimmer in their eye. It was really interesting and really, it's just, I guess it's fulfilling to me to see other entrepreneurs grow and have the same mindset of thought thinkers, just like me, right? People that are like me, that wants to grow and wants to have something different in their life.
Yeah, well, we're up against our next break, but
sure.
I know you went to work for the SBDC, the Small Business Development Corporation.
Yeah, that was right after. So then after, because when COVID happened, of course, and just like 2008, it was, I left the bank and then went to SBDC because of COVID, because I really saw there was a big, huge wave of need that's going to happen, because a lot of, it's like the experience that I had in 2008 was duplicating in 2020.
I totally agree 100%. I went through it. I had a business then, a consulting business that got crushed when the economy crashed, literally almost overnight. We were out of business. But it's fascinating. We're going to come back and continue this conversation because I want to leap into how you went from there to Mabel and crypto, and the hour is passing fast. So thanks for being with us here on Finding Certainty. Looking forward to finishing the conversation here. We'll be right back in just a minute.
Voice America is on LinkedIn. Connect with us today.
If you're a nonprofit in need of funding, we can help. Certainty Management is a cost reduction firm that also helps churches, schools, sports teams, and other nonprofits raise unlimited zero-cost funding. Best of all, you don't have to sell anything or ask for donations. Call 888-684-3122 to learn more today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at CertaintyTeam.com. That's Certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
Voice America programs are now available on your favorite connected device, including Amazon, Alexa, and Google Home. Through streams with Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio, listening to your favorite show is as easy as saying the show name followed by the word podcast.
Hey, Alexa, play Finding Your Frequency podcast.
If that doesn't work, try adding on TuneIn or on iHeartRadio or on Apple Podcasts.
Certainty Management can help create more certainty in your life with our deep discount health insurance options, even for 1099s, part-time employees, volunteers, and more. Pay less to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your team. Call 888-684-3122 for a free quote today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at CertaintyTeam.com. That's Certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
Voice America Business Network, the bottom line in business.
You are listening to Finding Certainty with Patrick Laing. Have a question for Patrick or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show with Patrick.
Welcome back to Finding Certainty. We're continuing the conversation with my friend Tony Salazar. And I've been talking a little bit about your journey, how it's been kind of like building a Jenga tower, right? You've got construction and recycling, finance, banking, got into the green movement.
Yep.
Did a lot of consulting here in Las Vegas and on some very large projects. But through it all, I see this theme. And knowing you, I know this is a big part of it, is you've always wanted to pay it forward, give back. And one of the best ways you could do that is take all of that experience and knowledge and share it with others. Mm-hmm. That's what you're doing with Mayville Academy, with mentorship. I mean, I know you mentioned it's an acronym, right?
Yeah.
Mentorship, accounting, banking, insurance, and legal. Did I get it right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So I want to go through your course now. And the more I learn about it, we got to talk about what that looks like. But in fact, let me just quick comment, 60 seconds, and then let's talk a little bit about crypto. And maybe we'll do a whole nother show because you are a master at cryptocurrency and blockchain. I mean, we can, you start talking about that, and I just, it's like a rabbit hole, right? There's a lot to it, but you have this ability of breaking it down into simple concepts, and I know you do that through the academy as well. So yeah, through Mayville, I teach crypto because it's part of finances, right? You know, it's the new digital money. Most people think blockchain and crypto is one and the same. That's not true. Blockchain is just like the technology. It's the brains inside of the computer, right? So the computer has a brain, right? So what makes crypto work is blockchain technology. And blockchain technology is nothing new. It's been around since the 70s, 1970s, and most people don't even understand that. Yeah, we were talking about how money's been digital for decades, right? We don't have a bag of gold into the bank. We can deposit our check on our phone, right? That is correct. So, 99.9% of all money or currency, actually, not money, currency, is in digital format. So, and that's what happens, right? So through the banking system that we adhere to from day to day, right? We log in our back office and we see the ones and zeros, and it's all digitized. It's not in physical cash or paper money, right? I mean, you can go, and if anybody remembers during 2020, during the pandemic, even banks was you had to make an appointment to even get cash out. So, and that became hard with people. And I guess that's my segue is like, I really saw during the pandemic, everybody was kind of staying at home. So I really started, because I was working for the SBDC and helping people with their EIDL loans and PPP loans and that kind of thing
for businesses not to get into a screeching halt. And because what happened to me in 2008, I knew I had kind of like the solutions to like get people in the same mindset to pivot, and not just because of a pandemic is going down, you can actually get creative with your business and kind of pivot to and make money. And some of the ones that I've mentored through, they actually made more money through the pandemic than before.
I know several who did.
Yeah.
They didn't
And
just
so,
freeze.
I know I'm getting off topic, but that kind of just segues into the next thing, and that's why I did Mayville Academy, because for entrepreneurs when we were doing a lot of Zoom calls, and really everything was online education, and I was, and I had my YouTube channel as well, so that, in other words, I can give information in a very efficient way. And so, crypto, I've been involved in crypto since 2013, and it was actually a buddy of mine from college. He said, "Hey, ever heard of Bitcoin?" And Bitcoin was started in 2008. And of course, because, the whole premise of Bitcoin was because of the 2008 banking crisis, right? So to get out of that. And if you really think of, and it's nothing new. Digital currency is nothing new. Like I said, since the 80s, we were using ATM machines, and that's all digitized. Debit cards and credit cards. So if you really understand how things work in the background, we're already using networks for payments, right? To push digital money or digital currency and value
100%.
Through the internet, right? So Bitcoin was established the same way, but it's just, instead of centralized, like Visa and MasterCard are very synonymous to Bitcoin. And you're like, what? Wait a minute. Yeah. It's just the only difference is that Visa and MasterCard, their networks are centralized. So it's, you have a corporation, and you have management, and you have a network of computers. Every single validator, they're called validators, by the way, when you go to the store and you pay with your debit card and you slip in their debit card is the node, that little chip that's in your debit card that's embedded, that's called a node, by the way. And so you do this every single day. Most people do, right? And that's how they pay for stuff. And even cash is going away very systematically. And so, because for banks, it's very expensive to house cash. Think about it. You got to transport it. You have to secure it. You have to have vaults for it. But if I can have just a digital cash or, currency, it's a lot cheaper. So that's why banks are pushing that.
It would cut down on bank robberies for sure. Right?
Well, yeah. Most bank robbers are not, sticking, this is a stick up. Most bank robbers are cyber bank robbers. So, and because of FDIC, your deposits are secured up to $250,000. Now, if you're in a credit union, you're not in the FDIC system. You're in a totally different system, by the way.
So, question for you, Tony. Again, I think we could do a whole nother show on crypto, but before we end here, because we're coming up on the end of the show, give us a quick understanding of how blockchain is changing the world as we know it, and how can we benefit in the process? How can we make sure we don't miss out on this trend? Because you're a trend watcher. You're good at getting behind trends. Crypto is obviously the future. Mm-hmm. Give us a quick, just your thoughts on that, and how do we,
a high level macro.
Yeah, and how does the normal layman who's not an expert, how do they capitalize on it?
Sure. So think about it. So everything's getting digitized, and we're been seeing that because of the internet, right? So that the foundation is the internet, right? And so we don't use a lot of paper anymore. Right. So let's think about all the things that we personally use in paper format. So paper format is your birth certificate, your death certificate, your marriage license, your driver's license, your IDs, your passport, all these are paper format IDs, right? Or
your mortgage application, your title work, your
yeah,
legal documents,
even those
the
are
list goes
getting
on.
digitized now too, right? Like e-signatures, right? You sign documents online now, and it's becoming more and more prevalent. So let's push the envelope because of blockchain technology, and this is already here now, by the way. In the state of Louisiana, actually, you have a digital ID. Your driver's license is digital. They have a wallet, and it's using crypto or blockchain technology. Sorry, not crypto, but blockchain technology to secure your ID.
Yeah,
With
when you get pulled over, you're pulling out your phone, not your license and registration. Right?
that is correct. Now they will issue you a paper format or whatever plastic format, but really the state has all your ID through the DMV in a blockchain. The state of Utah, actually has marriage licenses on the blockchain already, where you can have records of your marriage license digitized, and you don't have to carry a paper one. You can have a wallet. It's like your Apple Wallet, or in your phone, it's your copy of your marriage license. And other states are already going to implement birth certificates for that. I know Louisiana did that because of Katrina. A lot of people lost a lot of important documents. And
Right.
so that's the reason why they implemented it, because of that, right? And all the floods.
Well, you look at blockchain and AI, you add in, artificial intelligence as well. It's going to eliminate industries. I mean, it's already, Chat GPT has got every copywriter in the world running scared, right? You've got title companies, I think, will be going away.
Think about it.
Talking about how attorneys and much of the legal is going to go away, where attorneys will just be litigators, and they'll be doing quality control or whatever. But much of the legwork and the normal jobs that we have are going to become obsolete.
That's correct. Like, for example, I know, like, as a teller, you're not going to see tellers because paper money is going to go away.
Right.
So why should I mean, you're kind of seeing that now. You have a lot more banks that have dispenses, right? The cash with a machine, and it's not a physical person counting the money in front of you.
Exactly.
So like tellers, and then of course we were talking about real estate. Like, think about that. So I know a lot of government entities are going to start putting your title into blockchain technology. And so now you don't need escrow companies, you don't need title companies, because everything's going to be on a blockchain where it's just a click of a button. And so that makes it so you're going to need to understand how this stuff works. And right. to be more certain about your future, you got to understand how crypto works.
Well, that's just it. And it's becoming more mainstream. More people are starting to get involved and realizing that it's here to stay. It's the future. But I think you just hit the nail on the head, and maybe the point we have to end on, because we are out of time. But if you're not up to speed on blockchain, if you're not up to speed on crypto, you need to get there, and you need to get there fast. I'm actually going to post a link in the description for the show to a company that I work with, that I am good friends with the founders, called Connect. It's they offer a free blockchain academy that you can get on and go through little modules, learn what a NFT is, learn what a node is, learn what Bitcoin and Ethereum are, and you actually can earn crypto for going through the modules. So you can earn crypto for free. They'll educate you on how to do it. I highly recommend you reach out to Tony and learn through his Maybill Academy. Especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to get crypto. You're also going to get a whole lot more. So, just in closing, Tony, how do they get a hold of you? How do our listeners learn more?
You can go to our website, Maybill, MABIL Academy.club, and that's our website. You can follow me on YouTube. It's freedomtv.info. or you can even Twitter through Mayville Academy, or even LinkedIn, Anthony Salazar on LinkedIn, Mayville Academy.
Fantastic.
So yeah.
Well, I appreciate you being here, my friend. I do think we should do a whole nother episode and talk all about crypto, how to actually capitalize on it. We all want to get rich off it, right? We all want to, have the financial benefits and the legacy. Sure. But we've been visiting here with Tony Salazar. Thank you for being with us today on Finding Certainty. Watch for the future. We'll probably have him back and continue this conversation. But thanks for being here, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Finding Certainty. We hope you've gained some more insight into how to create more certainty in your own business or nonprofit. Join us next week for another taste of the certainty experience. Until then, we wish you greater certainty in all that you do.